right, Matt, read the description. Do the description.
Well, shit, shit, welcome. All right, well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Non-Pro TV Party. Here on Non-Pro TV Party, we watch television shows and then we geek out about it. We're not just watching it; we are obsessing over it. And normally we have title music, but unfortunately our host Frank isn't around, so our very poor consolation is James. Thank you, James. Welcome.
My beautiful rendition of TV Party.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm super excited to talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. this week. I haven't been on the Hangout since we've come back, and I've just had all the feels, and I haven't been able to express any of them. So, boy, I'm excited.
All right, so yes, on this episode of TV Party, we're going to be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's going to be episode 13 of season 2, One of Us. And on this week's episode, Skye and the rest of Coulson's team try to start to come to terms with her new inhuman powers, while Cal forms his own team of superpowered villains to take his revenge on Coulson. So, what did you think of this episode, James?
What did everybody think? I don't know. What did you think, Bill? No, I loved it. I mean, I'm really glad to see Skye's dad back. I think he just, I hate him obviously because he's a monster, but he does such a great job on the show. So that's really interesting. I'm really excited to see, the team reacting. Really excited to see the team reacting in this episode to learning Skye's secret that she has these powers. I'm glad that they haven't been holding anything back. They've been really straightforward and just next reveal.
Yeah.
They're not teasing us, and that's really nice. And then that ending, just super excited. So yeah, I thought all around I really liked this episode. I thought it was actually pretty great.
Yeah, I really like this too. It was kind of odd. I feel like kind of like last week's episode with Lady Sif. It almost feels like it was supposed to set up for kind of a not a plot moving. It was really much like Monsters of the Week. It seemed like at first, but there was actually some really cool progression stuff going on, and yeah, I'm they're chugging along, and as well, I can't wait till next week. So let's get right into it.
Go for it.
I
was gonna say.
Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna just say that. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I kind of really like the Monster of the Week plot feeling thing they got going on. They set it up really well, and they do a lot of Monster of the Week-y things, but while still getting the plot in there, and I think that's just really excellent. I actually wish a lot of other TV shows were able to balance that so well.
Yeah, I think they've really hit a good balance and stride with what they're doing. All right, so let's go right into it. First things first, let's talk about Skye, or Daisy, or Quake, or however you want to call it, Mary Sue Poots.
Still Skye to me.
Still Skye, of course. So obviously we see a lot of her more power, and actually kind of a lot of her mindset on this, because we actually have Dr. Andrew Garner come in, Melinda May's ex-husband, and he kind of psychoanalyzes her, and those scenes were pretty interesting, kind of to see how kind of like her kind of resistance, because she says she was in the system before, and she doesn't trust that kind of thing, but also kind of getting a little kind of getting how she feels with this scary new ability, and also as kind of a bonus, we get a little bit more May history.
Yes, the May history was awesome. Any more secrets we can learn about May, the better. I think. And I liked Skye in this episode. Obviously, it's very seeing her attempting to control this and really just kind of internalizing her anger and fear and ultimately her powers to the point where she's, kind of hurting herself.
Yeah.
But I think what's most interesting about this episode is actually seeing the rest of the team react to her. Even people, like Gemma, who's obviously been, anti-Inhumans. I mean, they haven't really called them that yet, but So Gemma, who's been really anti-Inhumans, is all but Skye's different, and Fitz is kind of calling her out on that. And then even, someone like, like Coulson is kind of preparing a backup plan, and even May, who's like so patient and so like, just under control, is, questioning how they're going to deal with Sky, and it's concerning,
Mm.
because she's just some other monster, and it feels like S.H.I.E.L.D, not like the show, but S.H.I.E.L.D, the organization, is falling into their same pattern, the thing that's kind of caused a lot of the problems they're having right now.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting. You mentioned Gemma, like it's really interesting that she mentions, "Oh, Sky's different. She's my friend." But throughout this episode, she was like the first, like, we gotta knock her out, give her a sedative. Like she was the first one to like drug her up, like because to stop the powers, and like treating her as kind of like as a almost like as a lab subject than her friend, and it was actually kind of disconcerting to see. And yeah, it really honestly seems like the only true ally Sky has is Fitz. Everybody
I
else is kind of
100%, and
conflicted.
I'm loving that though. I mean,
Yeah.
Fitz is just, he relates. He knows what's. I mean, probably not as severely because Sky's obviously like very powerful, and Fitz just had like problems.
Hmm.
But like at least he can relate a little bit. I feel like nobody else there. Yeah, maybe Coulson could probably relate a little bit too, but they haven't really shown us any of that.
Right.
So
I mean, he's still on kind of like I got to be the director mode. So I need to have a plan for everything.
yeah,
Um, and actually, I mean, you speak about internalizing. You mentioned injuring self. I thought that was actually a really cool scene at the end where like
mm.
she internalizes like take what May teaches her, but actually injures herself, like kind of breaking her whole entire all the bones in her body almost. And that was pretty creepy. Just seeing
Yeah.
like the blood's like just forming underneath her skin, and like then she passes out.
Yep.
Um, let's move on
And
to oh
I think it's
go.
May's ex says it at the end. I think even this point that we're trying to make, she says to May that like you guys haven't changed. Like I know you said you're
Hmm.
different, but to me this just looks like the same thing. And obviously, Sky's father, you know, who's at this point, a good segue, is this point is gathering up all these villains under the idea that yeah, sure, Shield's weak and they have a new director, but they haven't changed. They're still the monsters that locked you away and did this to you.
Hmm.
Despite the fact that he's crazy, I mean, he might be right.
Yeah. And you kind of take a look at like kind of how much really crap like the people on the index got from Shield. You got like the Angar who had that mask over his face, and when he took it off, it was almost like stuck to
Uh,
his face. That was almost gross. Like the skin was like forming around it. You had
the girl with the fingers,
yeah with the finger, with the metal, I guess
metal
brace
fingernails.
metal fingernails or whatever.
She had the braces on. She couldn't like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like they're all cracked. And like these weren't really top tier villains. I mean, you guys. I mean, obviously Angar, who's an actual comic book villain,
yeah, but the other guys were like,
funnily
one
enough.
guy's super strong, and like Edward Scissorhands lady. Like, I mean, yeah, I guess she's dangerous because she killed a couple of people, but like, I feel like that's somebody that like, you just,
You need the help, not
yeah,
like
like
crippled.
that person needs those removed, and then psychologist,
Yeah, try to work through her issues. But like yeah, like you said, maybe Calcon has a point. Or at least the very least, Old Shield has this very extreme we must contain the situation kind of like mindset. And actually, one thing I thought was really interesting, and kind of also tying it back to like Sky at the very end when she started kind of like freaking out. Like like what really kind of triggers her off is seeing Coulson beating the absolute tar out of the hacker dude, which I thought was really interesting visually, like interesting like mentally, like seeing Sky, like remember her origin, she was like originally a hacker,
Mhm.
like seeing like someone like her just like being beaten and like roughly handcuffed, and like I think like the way that like Coulson was kind of pretty merciless there, I think that was definitely like an intentional imagery, considering what we see in the media today, and um, and just that kind of imagery, like seeing someone like her be treated like that. It was kind of. I think everybody did. I think that the show did a great job of like showing, like, yeah, I think Sky has legitimate reason to be afraid.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Now, you were speaking about old S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
Let's, as a little bit of foreshadowing, let's talk about Hunter and Bobby and
Mac.
Mac. Thank you. I
No.
was going to say Max, and I'm like, no, it's not Max. Mac, yes. So Hunter is locked in a utility closet for the
Yes.
majority of this episode because he is Hunter and Mac's prisoner. Well, hostage. Really, he's just out of the way because they can't be found out.
Yeah.
And we're kind of toyed with the entire episode, like, that they're not the bad guys. They don't mean Hunter any harm. They just, they can't. He can't go to Coulson. And Hunter, who obviously we've seen come from kind of like this outsider, be like, no, I kind of like what I'm doing here. I can see why you guys liked it too. And now they're like, well, you can't like it because we're working against it, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
The big, I feel like they don't give us many hints during, not that I can think of. Can you think of something?
Not really. I mean, you kind of get a little history with Hunter, Mac, and Bobby. Like they talk about the first time Hunter met Mac, and Hunter says my first impression was the lies. You lied to
Yeah.
me when we first met, and I've always thought the same way ever since then.
And actually that probably was good foreshadowing because Hunter says, you lied to me because you couldn't tell me you were working for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hmm.
And we didn't. So obviously, for those of you who are watching, is probably already spoiled. So whatever. Um, they're they're also working for S.H.I.E.L.D. Just another version of S.H.I.E.L.D. What a cool reveal at the end there. I mean, it was really neat.
Yeah, I really kind of like it, like shot from like Hunter's perspective, and then you see like Mac, like say the real Shield, and then he steps away, and you see like the logo come into focus, where it is like the Shield Eagle, but it's very much more angular and kind of a little bit more intimidating than the regular logo.
Definitely.
And
So
so, yeah, the big speculation is like, what's the real Shield? Who runs it? Is it like the remnants of the old organization? Is it somebody else trying to start it up? Is it another, like, the U.S. government starting its own version of S.H.I.E.L.D. and like calling it the official one, like not a non-Nick Fury or World Security Council one?
mhm.
Um, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a group of people who probably, let's be honest, as far as the man of decision-making prowess, Fury was not the best.
Hmm.
His decisions were questionable at best. So, for him to be one of the directors of S.H.I.E.L.D., I can imagine that there was probably a group of people already, not Hydra, another sect maybe in S.H.I.E.L.D. who disagreed with or didn't like Fury's decisions that were still loyalist, like good to S.H.I.E.L.D. And I think maybe this is their natural jumping off point, that they found those loyalists who were non-Hydra who disagreed with Fury and would then disagree with Fury's decision to put Coulson in charge. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that's it too. I've heard rumors that maybe it's Maria Hill.
Oh, but no,
Or
isn't Maria Hill working for Stark?
she says she's working for Stark, but come on, you know that if she wanted to, she could be running her own agency on the side. Or maybe I think someone even said it's Tony Stark's shield. I think I remember
That could be
somebody throwing that out there. Which
possible.
I don't know, that would be kind of crazy, but who knows?
So I think that's everything I want to talk about this episode. I just want to really geek out with you for a second before we go about next week's episode. So for those of you who don't know, Edward James Olmos will be guest starring in next week's episode as the director of the other S.H.I.E.L.D. So Matt and I are very excited.
Oh my gosh. As you know, anybody knows Non-Pro. We're big fans of Battlestar Galactica and pretty much all of Edward James Olmos's work. So it's really cool seeing him in a command position again, and possibly as a more villainous or more, or at least a very more adversarial role to Coulson's team. They might be on the same side, but like very different um, mindsets. Probably even more extreme than like Talbot. I feel like Talbot and Coulson might be able to was able to find kind of some common ground. I have a feeling um, Almost's character is going to be very hardline, whatever he is, because come on, it's Admiral Dama. He's got to be the hard ass.
So, one question, I guess, for both of us. Other than Edward James Olmos, what's something you're most interested in seeing in next week's episode? Or in the upcoming episodes?
Well, not besides Edward James Olmos, also starting next week, we're going to be going back to Ward in Agent 33. We're going to find out what they've been doing since the mid-season break. So I'm really excited to see what's going on with them, because that's one twisted team up that I got to see what's going on with that, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm most excited about, and we didn't talk about it much this week, but our actual Inhumans, the guy without the eyes, wherever Reyna ended up, and the woman who can't die, or at least doesn't age. What happened? What was her name?
I forgot her name.
I don't remember. But I'm excited. I want to know what's happening with the Inhumans, the other people. When are they going to reach out? What's going to happen with them? How long have they been there? Basically, anything I can get on them.
Yeah, I mean, now they have Cal, and and according to Guy with No Eyes, he's got to face judgment or something like that. So we'll be interested to see what they mean by that. So it's really interesting. It looks like we have at least 4 different sides, or 4 different factions. We have Coulson's team, we have the new S.H.I.E.L.D., we have the Inhumans, and also potentially we have the Hydra remnants of Ward and Agent 33, and anybody, I guess, with them as well. So I think the season is really starting to form up pretty well. I feel like they're doing a very much better job at balancing and introducing these groups than like all the different groups they threw in season 1. So I'm really happy to see that, and so I just can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, me neither. I'm really excited. I think it's been really well balanced. It's definitely one of the best shows I'm watching on TV right now. So people who are still kind of naysayers from the first season, we say it all the time here on Non-Pro, but you should be watching.
Yeah.
All right, and thank you for joining us. Matt, cue us the music.
Go, James.
No. Anyway, thank you for joining us for another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hangout. We are here every Sunday night at 8, sometimes 8:30, to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I hope you'll join us next week, and bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.